All right, we're back. A bit of a different panel. I don't think you and I have ever been on here, just Eric and I, which is scary for you, Pat. But we're joined here. Three-time Olympian now, former NCAA champion, the mayor of Toowoomba, Pat Tiernan, everybody. Pat, thanks for joining us, mate. Good to have you. Yeah, come on. Come on, Villanova legend.
No, excited to be here with you two.
It's, of all people I thought I'd bump into in Eugene, I didn't think I'd be bumping into you. So explain to us, what brings you out here for the trials?
So I'm out here, my wife Angel ran in the 1500 last night. And yeah, Eugene's kind of been a home for us in the past. So it's nice to come back here and, run some routes that we've done before and reconnect with some people out here as well. So no, it's been good. But the trials brought me out here through Angel. So that's been great.
I'm curious because I haven't been able to bounce this off anybody else other than an American. What do you think of the trial system over here? How do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot of controversy with it because you have to show up on the day and things happen. You know, we saw that in the women's 800 and stuff like that. But, I just think you take so much of the politics out of it and it's just simply like you pick the three people that are going to be ready on race day. And I think the US results at Olympics and major championships have shown that in the past. You know, they've had people who have made finals, who have competed for medals, and at the same time, their trials line up well. You peak towards the end of June and you can maintain that for another month or so and get going. But no, I like it. I think it's a fair system. You have some heartbreak and things like that, but at the end of the day, there's no discrepancy with it. You have to finish top three on the day, and that's pretty crystal clear.
Yeah, I think I like it a lot more too. Obviously, ours is a little bit different. Ours is, we've seen it in the news before, but
is yours the same as like the British? Like, is it all the same where it's you've got one discretionary pick, and then the trials matter a lot, or is it basically like you can just choose whoever?
Yeah,
you've probably got a better idea than we do.
Yeah,
but, I don't know. I mean, I think there's a system that's set up. I think from my understanding of it in Australia with the track events right now, it's if you run the standard during the domestic season leading up to the trials and then finish top two at the trial.
Yeah, I think it was.
At least first. Yeah. If you run this standard throughout the domestic season and then win the trial, that's an automatic queue. But yeah, it's hard because, I think it's...
And that's the only way you can get that automatic.
Yeah, you have to hit,
I think so.
A rubric of things.
Yeah, but it's not within the qualification window. It's from the start of the domestic season. But, the hard part is, ideally we'd be able to have a trial in June, at the same time as everyone else and have the qualification window done and you have to finish top three. But, a lot of people want to be over in Europe already for the championship and stuff like that. Our summer ends that early. To be fair, though, I mean, we could find a place to have a track champs in June and it'd be the same temperature as it is here, So, but yeah, it's just a matter of you start to waver into like who's actually going to be prepared the best for the championship, adding a long travel day immedately after that, and then. Like people kind of want to get going. Like a lot of people who are making the team here are going straight up to altitude, or they're going back to their camp and getting their first session back in a few days later, sort of thing. So, which you just can't do that if you've got to have a 24, 30-hour travel day thrown in there after a race.
I feel like people don't understand how far away Australia is.
Far.
To get anywhere from Australia is ridiculous. Like when you fly back home, what is it? Explain the travel.
I mean, you just give up on a day. Like,
you lose it.
Like we're Angel and I plan to go back in September, and I've been telling everyone, "Oh yeah, we're coming back the 1st. We're leaving the 1st. We're not getting there till the 3rd." Like Australia,
the 3rd. Yeah,
it's insane. You leave because you have to leave from the West Coast. Yeah. And usually the flight's in the evening. It's like 10 or 11 p.m. or something. Yeah. But the time difference from the West Coast is 18 hours or 17 or 18 hours or something, and so you're essentially traveling, the second just doesn't exist. because by the time you land, it's 8 a.m. on the 3rd of September.
You're traveling a day.
jarring.
Yeah, you're traveling a
But
day.
the great part is you get a second shot at whatever day you leave
Yeah.
Australia to come back. You land before you
go back
took
in
off.
time. Yeah.
So
You're like,
if you,
"Oh, I
if you
didn't
mess
like
up
that
the
day."
first 3 hours of the day, you're like, oh, I'll get it back.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll
try again.
redo that.
It's a
I'll
mini
redo-
groundhog day. Yeah.
I'll redo that. I didn't like the way I woke up. It's so exhausting flying anywhere. That's what I was saying when I flew here from Europe, because it was like 10 hours.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's a piece of piss. Like, no dramas. And then everyone's like, oh, that's such a long flight. I was like, oh my God, to fly anywhere else, it's like,
It's nothing. But like that's
ridiculous.
And that's a big part of why like I'm still in the US. Like Australia's fantastic. Like we were just talking about before, how the competition in Australia is fantastic now.
Yeah.
You know, and you can get some really good quality races, but it's such an easy trip from here to go to Europe and back. You know, like I had a race about a month ago where I, was able to fly in, got there a couple of days before a race and came back the next day and didn't really have a hiccup training wise in that sense. Whereas with Australia, if you want to go to Europe and race, you got to commit. You want to be there for a month, because you're not going to travel. 30 hours, pop over, race for 10 minutes, and then I'll go back home now.
yeah, it's just absolutely not a thing.
No.
To touch on that, because I'm excited now, Pat. What the talent pool in Australia is getting better.
Yeah, it is.
And we've seen it through the NCAA. Obviously, you're an NCAA champion. We've had multiple NCAA champions. Like Jen Gregson is someone that came through that NCAA system and did so well. But it was always kind of one or two people that would really excel. But now back home, we have this. We're talking about it, like the women's 1500 here will be won in like 3:57. Yeah. You need a similar time or something around that back in Australia now to also win that event.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, still competing, like what are we? And I know you're not in Australia, but like what are we doing better? Like what's the rest of the world even doing better to catch up to what the US has been doing so well for so long?
I mean, I think you're seeing it across the board in all events everywhere. Like people are getting faster, people are learning new ways of adapting to training and things like that. And it's really been the last 3 years or so that's happened. But I think it's just the standards gotten a lot higher, and I think the top end of athletics in every country is having to rise to meet that. So, if that standard isn't increasing on the top end everywhere else, then you're kind of going backwards, and that's what we're seeing in Australia, and it's fantastic. I mean, we've got 4, maybe 5 sub 4 women at the moment.
4 this year.
athletes.
Yeah, the Australian 1500 is just crazy.
It's crazy.
loaded.
And
On the men's side, it's been it's like Stewie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Stewie was kind of leading the way for a while, but now you've just got so many guys who are, I mean, Ollie Hoare winning the Commonwealth Games. Like you guys are just on a crazy good level right now.
Yeah, it is crazy at the moment.
And I think the big difference that still we're catching up in is just the depth, you know, and because the US has always had great depth, and these trials always produce phenomenal races and stuff like that. Whereas our trials haven't always had. There's been 2 or 3 people up top, but when Rio and Tokyo, when I made those Olympics, it was more so a situation of getting the qualifier, and you're probably going to be one of 3 athletes who have it, or maybe one of 4 sort of things. So you're a good shot at going. Whereas now, like, the trials mean a lot, you know? And even in the 5K, like for us now, which is fantastic. So it's it's an exciting time, and I think once we've our top end is racing consistently well against the top end of other competitive countries, and I think that's only going to spur on everyone else, which is really exciting.
Yeah, well, obviously the last 3 years as a collective has been impressive. But Pat, you're entering rare air. You're about to become a 3-time Olympian. Not a lot of distance guys, at least in Australia, have been able to pull that off. But obviously it was it the 5-10 or just the 10 in Rio? I can't remember which one.
Just the 5 in Rio.
Just the 5.
It's meant to be the 10 and 5 in Tokyo, but had a little hiccup at the end of
Tokyo.
Well,
okay, I did want to talk about this. So I don't know whether you remember Pat's race in the Olympics. So I'm not going to talk about it too much, but you became like this... it was a weird thing in Australia. You became like this overnight...
Embrace the Australian spirit by giving it our all, but just coming up short.
So it was like Pat threw fucking everything in the 10, and unfortunately, like, just fell and ran out of...
got up. Fell again. Got up.
And it was heartbreaking to watch, and it could have spun 2 ways. It could have been like, oh, let's give this guy his privacy. He's going through a big moment at the Olympics in Australia. He just went, fuck it. Let's put it on every news publication we possibly can. Right. This guy's the Australian spirit. It was like the weirdest thing to come out of that.
I was very lucky that I didn't have to see it, but like Mum and Dad back at home, it's like every time they turn on the TV, it's just their son collapsing on the track. I'm like, fuck, I feel bad for him.
It was a really big deal.
It was.
everywhere.
I was so overwhelmed afterwards because I got all these messages, and I mean, you know how it is. Like you have a race and it doesn't go how you want it to go, and you're pretty disappointed. And especially at the Olympics, like our sport's so centered around that.
Yep.
And that one we'd been preparing for 5 years at that point, and so getting all these messages are like, oh, it's like so inspirational and stuff like that. And initially, I'm thinking like, I finished a fucking 10K. Like I run 15K every day at least, you know. Like finishing the race isn't what I came here to do. But no, it was like it took a while, but I think it was just this. I think like what people appreciated about it and what is like stereotypical Australian is just like they love just like a gutsy effort.
Yeah.
And that's what they. You know, that's what it appeared as. I'm not going to lie, in the moment, I was getting to the finish line because I was like, I need help.
Yeah. I need medical attention.
Get me off. But no, to me, it was kind of cool to look back on and think about that because it reinforced that the Olympics isn't like a win at all costs sort of mentality for us. And I think that's where athletes struggle afterwards is like this reality that you go to this big event and if you don't win or if you don't medal, then you failed kind of thing. And so that was kind of a cool thing to come from it. But, you know, so ultimately I didn't finish the 10K how I wanted and went away and thought, you know what, let's try run 4 times further now. That's the only natural progression to go.
You know what?
I'm hoping this
More
one
of that.
sticks because I can't go further up at this point. But no, it's I'm excited. It's going to be good. And but yeah, we're definitely hoping for a better experience in Tokyo.
Oh, it was heartbreaking to watch as like a fan of athletics, but also like knowing Jack and like your family a little bit. It was hard, but it was inspirational. Like that you continuously did get up. Would have been very easy to stay down. I just found it interesting that it was just showed everywhere so much, and I was like, oh, I wonder if Pat, likes watching this, or I didn't even think of your poor family back home.
Yeah, well, Angel was at home as well. She was here actually.
Oh, really?
We were living in Eugene at the time, and she was here by herself with the dog at like 4 a.m. or whatever it was watching it. And she's trying to get in touch with my coach at the time, my agent, and like nothing's really going through. They can't get to me because of all the COVID restrictions and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I felt for them in that sense because they've just seen me like have this like potential near-death experience on the track and just like, where the fuck did he go?
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't get a hold of him.
Yeah.
He
gone.
might have died.
He might not be coming back.
Can we get an interview?
Yeah.
We don't know where he is.
Yeah.
It's going to be morbid. We're not going to do this well. Well, now you've stepped into the marathon. You have quadrupled the distance. It's been pretty seamless for you. I feel like, was the marathon always something that you thought you'd step into?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always where you thought you'd go?
Yeah. I mean, I've spent a lot of my career getting out kicked in the last 400, and it's, as nice as it is to have people passing you and not be able to respond, I thought I got to find a way to win races. But no, so the marathon was always something I think people wanted me to do. It was just a matter of when I was actually ready to do it, because it's just a long way to run.
Yeah, what was the hardest part of making the jump?
I'm still struggling with it a bit, I think, in like finding what works for me, because coming from a track background and being a bigger body in the event, I can't do the same sort of mileage that a lot of people are doing. And so that was something we kind of had to learn the hard way a bit. Was, I had a pretty good build up to my first one in Chicago a couple of years ago, and had a good experience. 2:11. It wasn't anything crazy, but I was pretty happy with how it went. I had a good experience with it and stuff like that, and learned a lot about the event. 2023 was rough because we were gonna try and do Boston initially, but I just kept getting hurt trying to. Boston's a tougher course, so you try and train for it almost like it's a 45 or 45k or 28 mile race sort of thing, rather than training just for the 26 mile distance. So I was just getting fit, getting hurt, getting fit again, getting hurt, and just got in this sort of ugly cycle with it. And so kind of had to take a step back that year and just be like, what's actually going to work for me as an athlete, and not just apply the general stereotype for a marathoner in that sense. And so it was great. I sat down with Alistair and Amy, and we figured out that, for me, maybe I don't need to do as much mileage in a weekly sense, but like let's prioritize those session days and make that the bulk of the work. So instead of recovery days being, I know a lot of marathoners do like 75 minutes and 40 minute double sort of thing. For me, I just stuck to the 60-30 that I did on the track. help me recover, and then we can really get the most out of those 3 sessions that we do in a week, sort of thing. So, but yeah, and it's been good, and just trying to feed into my strength, which, you know, ironically is my speed in the marathon, you know, which is nice. So it's kind of a long sprint for home, but it's, you know, it's nice going to that start line knowing that I have a good shot if it comes down to the last sort of 10 or 5K if I'm there and my legs are feeling okay. So it's just been trying to play into those strengths, and you know, Houston went really well, and that was a great experience for me. But I'm excited for Paris. You know, it's a tough course, and you almost have to treat it like a long cross country race, which love cross country.
I would favour you. I would think, it would be your absolute bread and butter. We can't gloss over Houston because it was your 2:08 performance, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was incredibly consistent split-wise, was it not? It was near on...
It was a slight negative split.
Yeah, slight negative.
Which is what you want. The perfect
You take
split.
it, though.
Yeah,
even if it's half a second,
it.
it's still a negative split.
No, it was... it was good. I mean, I think what kind of worked in my favour was the paces went out too quick, and I was running on my own, but I think I was able to just kind of do my own thing rather than getting dragged out. Because a big fear of ours was that I'd get taken out too quick through the first half, and then when you least die, they just die.
Yeah.
You know, like you start to go backwards, and it becomes pretty ugly. So I was just able to kind of like really stay consistent, stay controlled that first half and build into it. And luckily the guy who was, you know, he had like a 10 second sort of separation from me through the first half, but just kept it there, was the guy who ended up winning. And so when he started to wind up, I was able to get a little bit of momentum going as well. But yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I think I just put so much effort into that because, like I said, 2023 was rough. And so when I kind of committed to Houston in September, I was like, all right, everything we're doing now is just targeted towards running 2:08. And yeah, it paid off big time. And yeah.
Well, you and Houston have a great relationship.
I love Houston.
Your marathon and your half marathon PB are both Houston.
Yeah.
What is it about Texas?
What isn't it about Texas?
Texas boy.
What is it
Everything's
about
bigger
Texas?
in Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's the time of year. Like, I definitely run better in the cold. You know, not that I've had negative experiences in heat and humidity.
Yeah. Can't think of it.
Yeah, you became a superstar.
It was a positive, net positive.
Yeah. Australian icon.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's a great time of year for me. Like, I love racing when longer distances when it's a bit cooler, and Houston's a great time. January's a great time of year to do that. And it's a flat course, you know. It's kind of one of the few. I think it's one of the few marathons in the US that really gives you a good opportunity to run fast. But for me, I targeted it this year because it's. I think a lot of the fast courses you look at Chicago, you look at Berlin, even London, like they're getting taken out in 2:04 or quicker, and you know, that wasn't what we were going to do. Yeah. Whereas Houston was typically won in around 2:10. And so we thought, like, this is actually a race where if you go out at the pace you're trying to go out at, you can essentially race the second half and not have to focus as much on the splits. And, you know, unfortunately it was a incredibly fast year for Houston, but it still allowed me to just focus on the race in that second half and not have to focus as much on splits and things like that. So no, it just kind of worked well, and it's a race that's always kind of worked well for me. Like I generally have started my season with that race, and so no, it's made sense the years that we've done it. And I think what's worked well for me is we've never had to force that race. It's always just been something that's come along. It's been on the calendar, and if we've been primed for it, that's great. If we haven't, we've still been able to go and get a good result anyway. So yeah.
Wow, crazy stuff.
Did you ever think of doing a half?
Yeah.
Did you ever do a half?
No,
I
didn't do it. I thought about it.
Yeah,
but I wasn't too. I didn't feel. I didn't like the idea of it. Like that. But yeah, no, I never really. It just the marathon seems like almost like a whole different sport.
Yeah,
like it just seems like such.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Because I remember I was on the lead truck for New York City, which they would bring like, you know, track athletes that they were hoping to recruit for the marathon and give you the experience. and hopefully you'd get the marathon bug. And I think that made me realize I never want to do a marathon.
It's actually counterintuitive.
Exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I was exhausted sitting in the truck.
Shit, we shouldn't have put him in here.
Wrong
guy.
I was like, yikes, I'm not doing that. It was absolute chaos.
It's a much better way to figure it out there than getting to 30K running it and being like, wow, this is
I don't like
isn't
this.
for me.
Yeah. I'm not having a good time out
I think the marathon's so interesting in that you don't have a lot of cracks at it. Like for the 50, let's say you're a 15 guy.
Yeah.
Like you have a bad 15, you get in one a few days later. Whereas like it's the marathon, you're not really. That's not the case. It's a whole lot of preparation into a specific build up. If everything goes well, you do 2 a year.
Right.
Which is just so much different. And I think a lot of athletes don't quite understand it. And some of the, it's just like getting to the line.
Yeah,
it seems like just being able to get to the line healthy is.
I mean, that's a win in itself.
Just exactly. That's like such a huge part of it.
Yeah. And that's definitely a part that I have struggled with in the transition. It's just the reality that you're not going to race nearly as much.
Yeah.
And, that's why we do it. Because you like racing. We don't do it just to go to the track and
So
stuff.
you miss that part of it, like the frequency of racing?
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I like racing on the roads. Like I definitely prefer that race to the track races. But there's just races that don't make sense. Like you have to be very specific. Like in this build-up, like I think after Paris, I would have raced 4 times this year, and one of those races was Houston. And I've had a couple of hiccups that like coming off of the marathon and stuff like that. There were 1 or 2 races maybe that I didn't do, but at most I was only going to be racing 5 times. Up to Paris. So it's one of those things where you like you said, like you have one shot at it, and you just really have to maximize that. And I think it's one where you can't just go into it the same sort of mentality you go into a 15, which is just like so much pressure to hit time. Like you've actually got to enjoy what you're doing and enjoy part of the race itself.
We've seen athletes like Connor Mance was here this weekend running the 10K.
Which he's incredible. Like, he's the exception in that sense. I'm so jealous of Connor that he can do whatever he wants and still come out and run the same time.
I was going to say, do you ever think about like doing? Do you ever feel the itch to do like 10Ks and would it like would a 5K ever make sense in something? Would be a benefit. Yeah.
I think there'd be a time and place for it, absolutely. Because like we talked about, like that's going to be my strength when it comes to the marathon. Like I'm not going to be able to run these guys off their legs, sort of thing. But like I can have a strong last 5 or 10Ks. So we've definitely talked about that with my training. That's something we want to keep in touch with and make sure that I'm still able to run 28 flat for 10K and have those 5K legs as well. So it would make sense. It's just a matter of
scheduling and all these different things that make sense,
and especially with a year like this, with the course being what it is in Paris, it's hard to justify doing so many track races when there's so much conditioning that has to go into play for the preparation for the course. So, but no, like I did the 10K champs before Houston actually, which was a huge benefit because Houston was a flat course and it made sense for us. And I think I ran around 28 flat.
Yeah, you were quick,
and it was good because then you get to marathon day and 4:52 per mile or 3-minute Ks. Doesn't feel as bad.
Feels good.
Or it's definitely not as daunting to do it. So it's definitely an important part going forward. It's just like we talked about, the frequency of it and timing it around everything else.
I remember seeing Pat at the 10K champs before he started Zatopek down in Melbourne. I was like, how do you think you'll go? You're like, he'll be all right. Like, this guy's fucking humming. He's going to be all right. He's flying.
I feel like all right's one of those words that like doesn't actually mean all right. It's like you're either like humble bragging or you're terrible.
Or you're not fit. You're like, don't expect too much.
Or like, you're never actually average.
I'm about to show you what I'm about to do. Mate, I got to ask you, obviously you are going to Paris. First time running an Olympic marathon. Got a good crew around you with Liam and Brett in terms of Australians, but what's your expectation? Like what's a success mark for Pat Tiernan in the Olympics? Is it a place? Is it a time? What does it look like for you?
Honestly, I think it's such a hard one to set a place in mind because, I mean, there's just so many athletes who are running fast, but with the course being what it is, there's going to be certain people that are more suited to it than others, and you can't really predict how people are going to go about it. So I'm trying not to like set a place or a time as an expectation for the race, but more so I think if I can execute like our race plan going into it, and ultimately just finish well. Because that's something that I haven't been able to do at a major championship so far, is execute. Like I've got there and it's, made the final sometimes and stuff like that, but once I've got there, kind of just got to the point where I didn't feel competitive. I just did something out of fear because I didn't have a race plan in mind and just couldn't execute on the day. So I think for me, if I can just execute what we've prepared and get to the line feeling like I can compete with these guys, regardless of whether they go out and crush it or not, like I think that would be a win for me. Because it's just so hard. I mean, as well, like you get to these championships and the one thing you want to do is, like we talked about, getting to the start line healthy, but also getting there just feeling like you're mentally ready to compete with these guys. Because a number of times I've stood on the start line and looked around and thought, I can't fucking do this. Like it's a miracle I'm here. But, so it's nice. It'll be great to get to this start line and just look around and be like, yeah, okay, like if I have the day that I want, I might be able to do something. Yeah. But like if I can still just do what I do and everyone else has a better day, that is what it is. But just feeling prepared and putting myself in the best position possible would be a win for me.
Bloody oath. I think you're going to have Australians, Americans galore. I always say you're one of the best men in Australian athletics, so I'm pumped to see you get after it. I think we got Courtney Wayment coming up here in a second. Emily Sisson. There you go. Good thing I read the schedule. Pat, mate, before I let you go, I've been spooking this for 8 days. But mate, how fucking good is Australia? How good is it? How do we explain Australia to a bunch of Americans? How bloody good is it back home?
I mean, you're over here, and look, I love Eugene.
Yeah, great place.
I love Eugene. Is Eugene the best representation of the US experience coming over here?
No,
I don't think so. I think you could have an experience where you'd be saying how good is America as well. But
it's a great country. I
love Australia. Yeah. I do love Australia. We love going back, and it's just things that you miss.
Yeah. What do you miss the most?
I miss bacon, honestly.
Bacon?
Yeah.
Oh.
What? You don't eat bacon here?
No, because they leave the good part off the bacon.
Oh, they leave the fat?
They have the strip.
Yeah.
So they've got all the fat. They don't have any of the meat.
Oh, what?
Yeah. It's what Canadian bacon. Canadian bacon's what you call it here, right?
I gotta see.
Ours is really crispy.
Bacon.
We got really crispy bacon. Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's an art to cooking bacon in Australia. Whereas here you just chuck it on.
Just chuck that thing.
And flip it.
Chuck it in pan.
If it touches your tongue and it melts, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's
here. Whereas like in Australia, there's a delicacy to how you make it.
We don't like chewing.
No. we have seen that.
You've seen
I've
me.
seen Eric eat.
I like to swallow then digest.
Yeah.
That bacon better melt in your tongue, baby. No. Because the only thing
I
here...
didn't see you saying bacon, to be honest.
I didn't see
it's a hot topic.
I thought maybe coffee. I thought maybe the beaches.
I've got a terrible taste for coffee.
God,
yeah, I know. I'm letting you down.
It's okay. Yeah.
I actually like how you said, how good's Australia?
Yeah,
and he was like,
America's pretty good.
America's sick.
I mean, the problem is
Eugene's not that great, but
chosen to live here.
Yeah.
I've chosen to live here. I can't be on air bagging about where I live.
I think we
can.
I have been. But I don't live here, so you got a great point. Pat Tiernan loves America. That should be the headline.
Yeah, the mayor of Toowoomba is really
the patriot of Australia.
Yeah, the patriot of Australia. God, there's Australians waking up this morning. And then I'm like, I can't wait to see what Pat says about this Australia. Bacon's good, but
we just talked about how last Olympics I was the headline for the embracing the Australian spirit. Australian icon moves to America.
I was going to say,
loves America.
All the news outlets.
Yeah,
news
loves
outlets
America, hates
pissed.
bacon. Pat, mate. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Good luck in Paris. Congratulations on everything you've done so far, and we'll be on the roads cheering. We can't wait to see you out there. Well done, big fella.
Yeah, thanks.